The quickest way to get out of your depression. This is a tricky one. Depression is very real for some people. And the problem with depression is that it can last a very long time, and it sucks hours and days and months and years sometimes from your life. Life is so short that there is no time to be depressed. Life was designed to be enjoyed, for you to be happy and to enjoy your life. And you can have that. Although currently you might be depressed, and if you're not, save this one for later because the time might come where you're going to have those types of thoughts. Let's get into it. Number one, you have to understand what's going on rationally. There's a rational process to this. There's a rational reason why you're feeling the way you're feeling. A scientific reason, if you will. Currently, right now, if you are depressed, you are feeling emotions, aren't you? That's kind of what, or in other words, maybe you're also not feeling anything. You're just completely numb. That happens too. But in and of itself, you know if you are in the dumps or not. And in order for you to get out of it, you need to understand what's going on. It's not happening to you. It's happening inside of you. There might be an external environmental thing that is causing you too much pressure, too much overwhelming anxiety, but it's not the events. It is the way that you're thinking about those specific events. Your thinking that actually matters. But although you know and you rationally understand that it's actually only you who's depressed, there's no one else causing you to be depressed, okay? It's only you, and it's on you to manage to get out of it and to create a different circumstance for yourself, a different situation. So the first thing that we need to understand is that it is a feminine thing to not be able to control or channel your thoughts to better thoughts. If you are depressed, that means that you have a low quality of thoughts. I'm not saying this to make you even more depressed. I'm just exactly explaining the rational circumstance that you're in. You have a low frequency, low quality of thoughts, and no one wants to be around you when you're depressed, except for depressed people that feed off of each other. The key is to understand that, because then you can figure out solutions to get out of that rut that you've been in. It's feminine thinking. Masculine thinking, and I'm talking about men right now, okay? So for men, femininity is a problem because it puts you in those types of scenarios where you get depressed. For masculine men, they don't get depressed much. Masculinity is power, and power only comes from options, which comes from basically you being able to choose which thoughts you want to have. I'm going to discuss options a little bit more because that's what it is to be high values, to have multiple options. If you're low value, you don't have any options. You feel powerless and helpless, and that's what makes you depressed. But you can escape that situation. But it is a long process for some people, but the key is to get better at it. It's a skill to be able to get out of your depression. So if your depressions have lasted for years, you can get better at it so that they only last for a few months. And over time, you'll be able to narrow it down to just a few weeks, and then a few days, and hopefully you get to this stage of masculinity, okay? Masculinity really is just progress, okay? But come to the point where it only takes you hours or a few minutes to change your thinking, what you're focused on. Because what you're focused on is what's becoming bigger. And if you're focused on a negative thought or something that is overwhelming for you or gives you anxiety or gives you depression or stressful thoughts, and you don't feel like you can get out of it, at some point you need to be able to think about something else and focus on something else. Another aspect of femininity, which is also leading you towards this depression, is the fact that you care about what other people think. This is why there's books out there called No More Mr. Nice Guy and The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. All of those books is kind of like coming into the mainstream now because people are struggling with their mental health. They're depressed. And the only reason why they're depressed when it comes to really understanding this is that they care so much about what other people think about them. and about their situation. You need to have some aspect of this though. There's a reason why the universe made us so easily affected by what other people think about us. It is so that we can have joy. If we didn't care about what other people think at all, 100%, then there would be no reason to exist. Because what we're trying to do in life and to become a success and to become a winner, it basically comes from the fact that you are a winner in other people's eyes. Yeah, you might be a winner and feel that you're top notch and awesome and all those things, but if there's no one around, who cares? Exactly. You want other people to care. And so the worst situation is when no one cares, but you think that they care, right? You're caring what other people think, but guess what? No one cares. But that's not a negative thought. The fact that no one cares means that you have nothing to offer them. At some point in the future, you might actually be able to get to the point where people do care. And you have something to offer them, not necessarily only from a transactional aspect, but from a transformational aspect where your relationship with them, you both care about each other, and it creates an amazing form of joy and happiness in your life. That's what's missing in your life, really, when you think about it. Your depression is causing you to not have anyone in your life who care about your situation. Or even worse, they do care about your situation, but you think that they don't care, or you don't care so much about yourself because of low self-worth, or you don't care about other people to the point where you think that no one cares about you. That would lead anyone to the dumps, not having anyone in one's life, right? So understand that circumstance, because it has everything to do with relationships and has everything to do with people. Depressed people very often have been so hurt by people that they alienate themselves, lock themselves in their apartment or in their room or whatever, and then basically indulges in whatever they can get their hands on that produces any form of immediate gratification, dopamine spike, that's not good for them in the long run, that furthers their direction towards a very bad lifestyle and even more depression. It's because you've alienated yourself from people. There are people out there who do care, and you need to come to the point where you also care not only about them, but also about you. And sometimes you care so much for them that you actually do change and make a difference in your life so that you're not negatively affecting them anymore. If you're depressed, you're affecting people. Alienating yourself from people still affects them because you're not around anymore. So the quickest way, I told you, we got to rationally understand this. Rationally, not emotionally, oh, this is so bad. Rationally, when you're thinking rationally, you're basically taking yourself out of the equation and just looking at your current circumstances and say, okay, this is actually what's happening. All right, I'm beginning to see the picture. I'm beginning to see the vision of what my current circumstance is. Just like in a mall, right? You want to go to this specific shop? Well, guess what? You need to know where you are right now. You are here. That red dot, that's you, okay? You need to know where you're at, because then you can actually make progress in getting to where you want to go, which is somewhere else than this depression, correct? Exactly. Okay, so since alienation and moving away from people and feeling that other people don't care or feeling that you don't care about yourself is the main issue and problem, it's very good to go and seek out someone that you can talk about your problems to. Now, preferably, it would be great if you talk to someone who's not depressed, okay? Because if you spend time around depressed people, guess what? You're gonna keep being depressed, right? So very often you have to pay for this type of thing. Or maybe you have a wonderful family member or friend that you can discuss this with who is happier than you are. Because that would be a great circumstance, because you don't have to cost, it doesn't have to cost anything, okay? But if you need a therapist or you need a coach, I highly recommend that you talk to a professional, because sometimes family and friends don't understand how all of this works, and maybe they've struggled with understanding depression in the past, or the scientific way that things work, right? So talk to a professional about it, but you'll need money for that. Maybe you're depressed because you don't have any money. Well, we'll talk about that in a second, but talking to someone who's going to look at your situation objectively and encourage you and help you to take positive steps in the right direction That's what you really need, because what you felt like is that you feel like you've been losing continuously. You just need a few small wins, and then some more wins, and then some more wins, and then you're gonna slowly but surely get out of your depression. Understand that the bad stuff has a seed of an equivalent advantage in your future. The fact that you've gone through something really crappy means that you can take that lesson and share it with other people of how you managed to get over it and get past it. That's a valuable thing for other people who are depressed. They need you, okay? They need the person that managed to get over their depression, because then you understand and you can actually help them, right? And another step is to write in your journal, okay? Get a notebook, right? Any notebook, get a pen. This is for you to slow down your thoughts, put them down on paper, write out several notebooks if you have to, okay? You've learned how to read and write, right? Use it, okay? Because this is a perfect way for you to understand your situation, understand you. I remember one time I actually struggled. Can you believe? Okay, from a scale of 1 to 10, I was a 3. I was happy, I was grateful, but still kind of in the dumps, right? I literally woke up early that day before my family woke up and any all that stuff. I sat down with a notebook and I literally wrote for like an hour and a half. And within that hour and a half, I had come to an 8. Okay, I went from a 3 to an 8. Now, don't get upset with yourself if you can't go from a 3 to an 8 in terms of depression level. You know, 8 being out of your depression and being freaking fired up, okay? Don't get disappointed if you don't do that, because I've gotten really good at it, right? You can too, though, in the future with practice. But start there. If you can go from a 3 to a 4 or from a 1 to a 2 just simply by journaling, by just discussing this with yourself, that's fantastic. And then you can progress later towards talking with a friend or a therapist or a coach. Highly recommend me, Men of High Value. We can actually help you with that stuff. So, number 2, what can you actually do about it beyond what we just discussed? And I want to delve deeper into the aspect of options. What does it mean to have options in order for you to get out of your depression? Now think about this. You're hopeless and powerless because you have no options. Let's simply do it with 3 categories of life. I love these categories and I'll use them again and again in my videos. Relationships, health, and finance, right? So let's say your depression came about because you've lost a loved one. Whether that was someone who passed away, okay, bless their hearts, or if that is because you had your girlfriend cheat on you and leave you, okay, that happens too, right? So it would be normal to be depressed during that type of circumstance. Well, guess what? Let's look at it from an options perspective. One option is looking at someone who passed away. Now, what is the option there? They passed away. There are no other options. The option is gone, right? Not so fast, okay? You could choose to believe that there is a life after death. If you don't believe that there's a life after death, okay, that's kind of problematic, but not really. Because you can literally make the choice to believe that there is a life after death, even though you don't believe it. Just simply believing that there is gives you hope and gives you an option. Okay, so this is just the waiting stage for me to meet them again. And they want me to do something out of my life for them to be proud of me, and then I'll eventually meet them again. Great, now you've got an option. Okay, now the depression doesn't have to be as intense or as bad because you've lost them and you've lost them forever. Maybe you didn't lose them forever. And who knows if that's real or not. Okay, I personally believe that there's a life after death. Maybe you don't, maybe you do. But focusing on that is way better than focusing on the loss, right? So you gotta understand that aspect of having options. So when it comes to a girlfriend, well, let's just get over her, okay? Because if you're following the steps on this Men of High Value channel, you're gonna get a girlfriend, or multiple, that is 10 times better than the girlfriend that you've got right now, or that you had, or that you lost. Who cares, okay? You gotta understand, I'm coming from the objective direction here, of like rationality, scientifically. Who cares? The fact that you lost someone who was equivalent in value to you, someone who can't control their thoughts, emotions, and behaviors, meaning you've been depressed. So the fact that you can't control your thoughts and you're in a depression shows me what type of value that girl was. No offense to the girl, it's just the way that her circumstance and situation is of being burdened. But that means that if you can learn to get out of your depression, at some point you can get a woman that's 10 times better. That just makes common sense. And that's what I encourage you to do. Great. What more options do we have? Let's talk about money, okay? You think that you're gonna be poor forever. You're not. That's believing a specific thought and believing that there are no options. Are you freaking kidding me? Simply from the fact of getting a job will cause you to no longer be poor. Can you be poor and still have a job? Yes. But can you be poor while still watching the Men of High Value channel and following the principles on the Men of High Value channel? No, not if you've actually followed the principles and steps that I outlined for you and you started out single, okay? Because I recommend you get 3 jobs. I'll get you out of your depression pretty quickly. Some people think that that would bring them into a depression, but not if you follow the principles on this channel. Okay, some people might be burnt out and all that crap, but kind of, yeah, I guess that's a depression too. But it's the same principles that you've lost sight of the fact that you have tons of options. But if you are getting a job, you now have money. That gives you options. And if you have 3 jobs, you got more options. And if you start a side hustle and you begin to make money there as well, and then you actually begin to replace those worst jobs, life becomes better. And now you have money and time. And that's what we're trying to get you to, so that you have your financial freedom as fast as possible within 12 to 18 months is pretty much what we say. If you've got a mentor and a community helping you out, and that's what Men of High Value is for. That's from the money side. From the health perspective, guess what? It feels like you don't have an option. You've been overweight for so long, maybe, and you just can't get out of it. You're addicted, or you don't know how to get rid of all these pounds because you've never really gotten around the type of people who don't have those issues and who are not overweight. Those are the type of people that you need to be around. Which brings me then to the last thing. The quickest way to get out of a depression is to change your environment. The quickest way to go from femininity to masculinity is to change your environment. The quickest way for you to go from poor to rich is to change your environment. Environmental creatures, that's all of us. We're all environmental creatures because we all start out feminine. That's environmental. The more you move towards masculinity, the less environmental you're going to be. And the reason why you're less environmental during that time space is because you can choose your thoughts, emotions, and behaviors independent of circumstance, and circumstance is environment. So we're trying to help you to move towards masculinity with this channel, and if you remain in your depression, it's not going to help. If you get out of your depression with our help, we can take you to the land of your dreams. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that this helped. And if so, hit me up on Instagram at Men of High Value. I'd love to help you out. I'll see you guys in the next one.